Zidane Danny, Electro Ninja here, and welcome back to Nerd Chat. I am here with my fellow hosts,
I'm Jack. I'm Jack.
and today we thought we would talk a little bit about remakes, especially since the newest Avatar series just came out. Not all of us, we're not going to talk too much about that specifically. Um, we'll probably talk a little bit about the first episode because all of us have watched that, but we haven't watched. I haven't watched any further. Jack, have you watched any more of that?
I watched episodes 1 and 2.
One
I
and
watched
two,
episodes
and
1
then
and
Joker,
2.
you've seen through 5, right?
Yes, I have
Okay.
watched 1 through 5.
So obviously, we're not going to talk too much about it. We'll probably talk a little bit about the first episode. Um, but this video is more as a whole, especially considering the fact that there are so many remakes out there right now. It's just, why are there so many? Why do people make remakes, especially for movies? That is the big thing that I'm always confused about. Like, unless it's like,
Because no one can
yeah,
new ideas. So
yeah,
they just make remakes,
I don't know.
which is stupid.
It is stupid.
Which is stupid.
Um, and honestly, it's kind of insane. My dad once made a good point. People are always saying, "Man, I really hope they make a remake of this." And my dad went, "So you want it to be? So you hate the thing?"
Well, who's saying that though? I've literally never
It's
heard
usually
anyone
not.
say
It's
that.
not usually about like movies or TV shows or books. Even it's usually about video games. Video games are the most common thing that people are saying, "Man, I really want a remake." And I think that part of the reason for that might be Pokemon's kind of basis with the remakes, especially before Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl.
Yeah.
Because obviously
Yeah.
Pokemon has done amazing with their remakes up until that point. Um, and And the only reason that Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl were kind of shit was because of the fact that they, well, were not done by Game Freak. They were done by a separate company.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
Exactly.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm intrigued to see like if Game Freak actually did decide to sit down and actually make another remake, then I think that they could continue to do better. But for now, it's just kind of like. I'm kind of hesitant to go back to any remakes for a while from them.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
But Legends, we all agree Legends are great. I mean, granted, we've only seen one so far, but
True.
at the same time, it's like it's gonna continue to get better. So I don't know. We shall see. But I think that Avatar is actually a great example of what not to do with a remake because it's just so bad. Like
the original M. Night Shyamalan. The original
Yes.
M. Night
Like,
Shyamalan movie. Yes.
so- For the record, for those of you who do not know, Jack is the only one of us who has actually sat down and watched through this entire thing. I have watched bits and pieces. Joker, you've watched bits and pieces, right? Or
No, I've never.
you've never seen anything about it?
I've never watched no. I've watched trailers and stuff when it was on Netflix, but I never actually
Okay.
watched the whole thing.
So
So you've seen bits and pieces. So you've seen
Yeah.
bits and pieces. Is what he
you've
said.
seen bits and pieces. You just haven't seen the whole thing. But to be fair, very few people will actually show a good amount of the movie because so much of that movie is really bad. In fact, the only person that I know of who has ever shown a good amount of the movie is Hello Future Me when he did his huge review of the entire freaking movie and how fucking awful it is. And I've watched that, and that has so much. It is so long. I think the video is actually longer than the movie because of how bad he wanted to clearly express how bad it is.
Oh yeah, the movie is just trash. Oh yeah, the
Yeah.
movie is just trash.
He also talked a little bit in that video about how he felt that at least the fight scenes they were not it felt like they were designed to be watched at 2 times speed because they're just so slow.
Oh, they're so slow. It's insane. It looks like everyone's doing fucking Tai Chi. It's ridiculous.
I also heard that the fire bending really sucks because you have to be fire in order to bend.
Oh yeah, no, they can't just produce fire. They have to they carry little like torches.
Which I mean,
It's like
to be fair about that though,
which makes absolutely
to be fair about that, firebenders in the original series were the only ones that could just create their element. The waterbenders, obviously, they had to carry, if you wanted to use your water bending in a place that didn't have very much water, you had to have a water bottle. If you want, like earthbenders, obviously they manipulate the earth. Airbenders, they manipulate the air. As such, the firebenders would have been the weakest one of them if they didn't create their fire. So yeah. So it makes sense, but at the same time, it's also like, to a certain degree, that kind of makes sense why you would do that, because pretty much everyone else manipulates their elements. It's not that they create their element.
Well, Earth covers the whole continent, and then water is everywhere.
And the only time, and when they don't have water around, Katara would basically whip out her water bottle and use that to to basically use that as a weapon.
Or have Aang draw it out from clouds, which, I mean...
So. And that was like one of... so, obviously there was a lot with that. But also they like... because of the fact that it's kind of it's only 2 hours, right? Or am I crazy?
Yeah, it's like something like that. Yeah, it's like something like that, yeah.
So, obviously, you're taking 20 episodes, each of which were about half an hour, and condensing that down to 2 hours is just... That is... for one, that is insane. So, I understand why that was a big problem. And the same thing kind of is... I feel like that might be something that people are going to complain about for the new series, because of the fact that it's only 8 hours... as opposed to, like I said, 20 minutes for each episode, for about 30 minutes for each episode, which really 20 minutes. So 20 minutes times 20, blah 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 blah. We're not going to deal with that right now, but significantly, it's less time. But at the same time, from what I've seen, at least of the first, the first episode, for one thing, they did add some things. They did, and I do.
They added a lot, and they also taken away a little bit, like the fun things that Aang wants to go do.
Yeah,
Aang feels a little too serious in this. I think that that's one of the big issues with it, but also the fact that he can just fly, pretty much. Like, obviously he's...
The flying was one thing, because I was like, alright, you can manipulate the winds, whatever, that's one thing. It's the telepathy for me. It's the fact that he can just move stuff. I'm like, no, that's not, no.
Yeah, that's fair.
What do you mean? I didn't see the telepathy stuff.
You know when he's in the jail, in the brig on the ship, and he just takes the guy's keys by airbending?
Oh,
yeah, that did feel a little bit weird. I didn't really think about it at the time, but yeah, that's like, ooh. Like, part of me thinks that maybe that's just like a little bit of earthbending in him, but I don't know. And it was just...
No, it wasn't though, because you can see in the scene that he's moving air around the object. So that means it's airbending, which either is a way to show that he's just that fucking powerful, or it's really stupid, and I can't decide which one it is.
I think like the big reason why I'm kind of like iffy about the flying is because of Korra, obviously, because they make it out like you've watched Korra, right?
Like one season.
Okay. So Korra has a villain, one of the last villains of the series. Not quite the last villain. I think it's the second to last villain because there were 4 seasons. So I think it was the third villain. He is the only airbender to ever fly, and or at least in recent history. And basically the way that they explain it is that in order to fly completely on your own, you have to basically let go of all of your earthly attachments. And the only way that he is able to fly is when his lover is killed.
Interesting.
So
interesting.
But yet Aang, who clearly at the time when he is first introduced has all of these earthly attachments with with the monks, with especially Gyatso. It's just like clearly he has earthly attachments. He should not be able to fly. And granted, it's more of a gliding than anything, and just lifting himself briefly into the air. So they might not go like full in. Oh, I can just fly, because it doesn't quite feel like that yet. But
yeah, it's not like that.
It's not
yeah,
quite
it's
like
not
that.
like that.
So I think that it's better than what I was expecting it to turn into, but at the same time, it feels a little bit cheap the way that they make it like. Even though it's not exactly flight, it is way more flight than I would have given them for that for this early. So, so there's that. But as for the actors, like the actors do portray the characters pretty well. I will say that.
I think Sokka's voice is just perfect. I think Sokka's voice is just perfect. His underbite makes me really irritated, but
yeah, I do have to say, I think
he looks like a fucking bulldog. He looks like
there's
bulldog.
very little ways that they could have. Sokka is just kind of a weird character, anyways. So I'm kind of intrigued to see like what they're going to be doing, especially because of the fact that they specifically said that they kind of removed some of his sexism.
They did say that, yeah.
So I'm kind of worried about that because it's like that's like a major part of his arc is him improving on his sexism and making sure that he's not a complete dingbat. So
yeah, agreed.
So
yeah,
I don't know.
agreed.
I'm intrigued to see exactly what they're planning on doing with that. I think that it's gonna be just we're gonna have to wait and see exactly what they're gonna be doing with that. Also, I do think that they should have done a little bit more scarring on Zuko's scar, but that might just be something that they kind of didn't have enough. They used so much of their makeup budget on Aang's tattoo.
I know they did the intricate tattoo thing again. I was like, are you guys serious with this?
Yeah, I kind of like it a lot more than I like than the other one, because the other one was just too intricate. This one, it feels like it would be something that they would actually have done, because it's still solid. It just happens to have like all of those little details in there.
Yeah, I mean, I like it better than the other one. I mean, I like it better than the other one, but I still think that the point is that it was it
makes a little bit more sense, because it might just they might the way that they might be portraying it and the way that it feels like.
My problem is that it's not supposed to be air currents that they're tracking on their bodies. It's chi, which means that it doesn't need to be all those curly cues and things like that, because chi is energy, which flows much more like just a
So I don't know. There's a lot with it, and I think that I think that might be the reason why the original creators kind of stepped away from it. But we're talking too much about Avatar. We should talk about some other things, like the Disney remakes.
Yeah.
I still so you've watched the most of the remakes, I think, right, Jack?
Yep.
Okay. I've watched I've watched most of them. I don't think I've watched all of them. Which ones have I don't remember which ones I haven't watched.
Lady and the Tramp and Dumbo are the ones
I don't think I've watched Lady and the Tramp. I didn't even know that they made that one.
That was a Disney Plus exclusive.
That would explain why I haven't watched it yet.
Because they just they didn't. That was the first movie that they put on there was that one. I only know that because that's when Disney Plus first came out.
I don't think I've watched. I haven't watched Little Mermaid yet. I haven't watched the Peter Pan one.
Oh, I haven't watched either of those and have no desire to.
I mean, honestly, if you're gonna watch a live action Peter Pan, it's not Disney that you want to go to. And we've talked about.
No.
You want to go to Hook. You want to go watch Hook.
Well, that one too. But there's a lot of other versions of Peter Pan that are better than like even the regular Disney Peter Pan. I think there are some that are way better. Like there's this one live action that basically completely follows the book. So, which that one's actually really good. I don't remember exactly who made it. I have it on DVD. I don't know what. I'll at some point look at it and tell you guys. But that one's pretty. But that one's pretty good. Hook is pretty good. There's a lot of them that are actually pretty good, and I think that's kind of one of the big things with like the Disney remakes, especially, is just there are better versions. Like if you want a Cinderella story, go to Ever After. If you want Snow White story, you go to Mirror Mirror, and so on and so forth. There's a lot of really good live action things, and I still want to watch that one Little Mermaid story that isn't that has pretty much nothing to do with the original story. It's just like it's like she was in a carnival or something, and it has the guy who plays Peter from Chronicles of Narnia. But I just haven't gotten around to it. And I still think I still thought up until I heard about the movie that Disney was the one who made that. I thought that was the Disney remake, but it wasn't. So that was funny. But I don't know. But I think we should also talk a little bit about what makes a good remake. What before I go into like anime and all of those things, what would you guys say would makes a good remake or remaster or adaptation, whatever? Huh? Maleficent? I haven't watched Cruella de Vil yet.
Yeah, I don't criteria for good remakes because I don't believe they're necessary. If you make a good movie the first time, why bother remaking it? What I do like, and what I think I'm gonna answer here is, I like the reimaginings.
Fair enough. You sound like you're dying.
Sorry, yeah, I kind of am. Maleficent, Cruella, those ones, the reimaginings.
Yeah. Those ones were great. Like if they did stories
because they tell the same story from a different point of view.
Exactly. If they did that, if they took if they did it on all the Disney villains and took them and told a different story and then
right? Give me Scar's backstory, not a live action quote unquote.
Yeah.
You know, just better CGI Lion King. No, give me the story of Scar. How did he get like that? Why is he like that? Why is he such a dick? Why is he a Nazi?
And then bring in his kids from the second movie too, like younger versions.
Yeah.
I think that was.
Also give me Hook. Give me Captain Hook's backstory. Give me other backstories. We don't need the remakes. That's the one movies that I like is Cruella de Vil and Maleficent because it told a different point of view and it was kind of different but also the same in familiarity, but it was different.
I know we've talked a little bit in the past about how I am weird and I like Beauty and the Beast. Why don't you two give... You didn't mind that one?
I actually didn't mind that one.
Joker, what do you think?
I have mixed feelings about that.
And I think that's fair. I once told my my acting teacher that I actually really liked Beauty and the Beast, the live action Beauty and the Beast, and he was like, "Oh, it's terrible. I hated all of the auto tune." And like, to be fair, he's a singing. He's also like a musical theater guy, so I can kind of understand why he didn't like it. But at the same time, it's like it was actually pretty good. I don't know. It's not great. We'll say that. And we've talked a little bit about the in private. We've talked a little bit about the upcoming Hunchback of Notre Dame, which I'm kind of intrigued to see what they're gonna do with it because I don't know, something like
Never seen them.
You
Don't
haven't
have a
seen Notre
desire
Dame?
to. Never seen them.
Okay.
Never seen them.
I'm intrigued to see what they're gonna do with it because the actors feel like they could absolutely be good options. Like Gal Gadot as freaking Esmeralda, like sign me up.
Yeah, no, when I saw the cast, I was like, yes, you have my seal of approval. Fucking
like I'm
send
intrigued
it.
to see what they're gonna do with it. I think that they're I'm kind of worried because, at least to me, it feels like they kind of have Josh Gad kind of typecast with Disney at least.
Yeah, but I don't think they're gonna change the. Maybe, but I don't think they're gonna change the entire character just to typecast him.
So I don't know. That's the one thing that I'm kind of concerned about because they kind of have him typecast as the gay best friend. Like even though Olaf is Ace, he still kind of feels that role of the gay best friend in.
He does.
So I don't.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just my brain seeing connections there, and maybe they won't be doing that. But that's one thing that does concern me about it is that they're going to change the story in order to keep him typecast. In which case,
say they probably not.
They should.
I would say they probably
absolutely
not.
should not. Because give him more chances to show off how good of an actor he is. Because he's not just the gay best friend archetype. He can do a lot of really interesting characters.
Oh yeah, no, he's a stage actor.
Yeah.
First and foremost. And that's where he played.
I totally forgot.
Huh?
He plays a huge array of characters on stage. He is in Beauty and the Beast, yeah, but he's also still gay in that.
To be
movie.
fair, like LeFou is like.
LeFou has always been queer as fuck. So.
Yeah,
has
he
always been clear
has
as fuck. So that's not on.
People who can recognize that are able to see that like from the beginning. I didn't see it at first, but then when I rewatched the movie years later, I was like, oh yeah, he actually is.
Oh yeah, he's so in love with Gaston. It's insane. Oh yeah, he's so in love with Gaston. It's insane.
So that was always in there. So it's not like.
Especially if you rewatch the animated one.
What'd you say, Joker? Joker?
I said especially if you watch the animated version.
Like obviously in that he's way more in love with Gaston, than he is in the like he is clearly in love with Gaston in the live action, but it's not as bad. It's not as intense. And I think that part of the reason might be because of the fact that they wanted him to get his own love story with that other character.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And honestly, like if they part of me feels like they kind of set that up to maybe like think about, okay, maybe we'll do like a sequel at some point and it will be I doubt that they're gonna do that, but at the same time it would have been funny as heck. No dying. But
you got it, dude.
But so I think we should probably also talk about adaptations because in recent years they have been doing better, especially with book adaptations into like TV shows, especially like Percy Jackson. We've talked about that extensively, and we're gonna probably at some point do a full video about that. But Series of Unfortunate Events was amazing, and so on and so forth. I think that the best example of of an adaptation is just anime in general. Most anime are an adaptation of a book. Usually it's a light novel or a manga, but it's not always. Sometimes it's not, but most of the time it is. And it's for most of them they've always been pretty good at it. There were a few early ones that was kind of like it's not as good of an adaptation of what the original creator wanted, but at the same time it was a lot of people weren't necessarily aware of the manga or the light novels at the time, so it wasn't really that big of a deal if it wasn't a perfect adaptation.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I can
I think
see
like
that.
a really good example is actually Blue Exorcist. Um, if you look at Blue Exorcist, the anime versus the manga, it's especially that first season, it's black and white. It's practically just it's almost a completely different story. Um, like obviously a lot of the major plot points stay the same, but but the series is so different. And from what I've read and stuff, the second season actually followed the manga way more closely, and I'm assuming that the third season is also going to be doing the same.
Mm.
And as such, it was like a huge mind fuck when I first watched the second season of the anime, because a lot of things were very different. And it was, like I said, it was weird. And I think that that's part of the reason why I think that if they are gonna, they need to stop with Blue Exorcist. Is what I actually want to say. Is after once they finish up with this third season, stop Blue Exorcist, remake the first season, because the first season was very different, and it feels like a completely different departure from the original between the first season and the second season. So fix that. So fix season one, and then continue and then act like the original season one that exists, but then people can watch the new season one and be like, okay, now it makes a little bit more sense, and then continue on with the series. So, I don't know. I'm not gonna get into too many details with that, but that was like one of the big ones that I really wanted to at least mention. But like, but for the most part, unless you're freaking Promised Neverland, most anime have actually been really well adaptations of their original source material. The only times that it doesn't happen really well is if the anime itself was not as popular. Like I said, Promised Neverland, the first season was not super popular when it first came out. As such, they felt like they needed to rush it. They needed to get the series done, and as such, the second season suffered. And because of the thing is that a lot of people were actually really excited for the second season, because people didn't watch it. People didn't watch season one when it originally came out. They watched it later, and as such, it gathered quite a big audience, to the point that when season two came out, a lot of those people had read ahead, seen what was going to happen, and been like, "Oh, this is going to be so much fun." And then it happened, and then they're like, "Where is Goldie Pond?"
Right?
Like, you got rid of like one of the best characters. You got rid of an entire extra 20 characters, and took out huge arcs that were super important to the story, condensed talking to God to a single segment of basically a slideshow at the very end of the season, and it was just what. Legitimately, I have so many questions on what the fuck they were thinking. And I'm just,
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So I don't know, and that's kind of So for the most part, I would say that Japan is pretty good with its adaptations, especially like I said, anime from the manga. And then there's America, and it's kind of the reason why I was very hesitant to watch the new Avatar series, was because of the fact that, for one, the writers had basically separated themselves from basically the original writers had said, actually, we don't want to work with them anymore. They separated themselves from this adaptation. So I was like, oh, that's not good. That is. So as such, I was obviously kind of weirded out by it, and I'm worried that as the series continues, we're going to see more and more of that. Why we probably shouldn't have been, why we shouldn't be, why it's going to be bad, and that's one of the reasons why I really wanted. Once we've all finished it, I really want to go through and talk about like what was wrong and what was good about the first season of this, because I'm concerned, to say the least. This isn't freaking Percy Jackson, where the author is like completely on board. He is working with them completely as the series is going. This is the writers chose to separate themselves from this, and that concerns me. So, yeah. Do you guys have any other thoughts about that?
Not really.
I mean, fair.
Not really. I kind of lost the entire train of thought there.
Oh, should we talk about how people really want Treasure Planet to be getting a remake?
What is?
People want Treasure
What
Planet
is?
and
No.
Huh?
No.
You're just like,
No.
no, fuck that.
They are perfect as they are. If anyone fucking touches them, I will literally end lives.
I think it's so weird
people.
that so many people are like, I want to see a Treasure Planet remake or a
No. Anyone who says that, straight to the gulag.
So you hear that? Freaking Odd Ones Out. I know you don't watch our videos, but the Odd Ones Out has actually said that he wanted for one Treasure Planet, but also he wanted freaking
If you say Atlantis right now, I'm gonna scream. If you say Atlantis right now,
Yeah.
I'm gonna scream.
He said Atlantis.
No. I will trebuchet that motherfucker straight into the gulag.
Yeah. Jax feels very strongly about that, so don't do it. But I just think it's funny.
You don't fuck with those movies. There are 3 movies that if they ever try to fuck with them, I will destroy the planet. All right. Treasure Planet, Atlantis, Meet the Robinsons.
Why in the world would anyone ever remake Meet the Robinsons? That movie is perfect.
Big Hero 6. Coming at a fourth is Big Hero 6, but I feel like there's what they've done with it, as in like the Baymax series and Big Hero 6, the series. Those are good things. Stay with those. Stay on that track. Don't remake. You know what I mean?
It's so good.
Yeah, it's actually really cute.
Also, there's the manga.
Oh, I need to watch it now. I love Big Hero 6. There's a manga too?
Yeah,
there's a manga too?
Yep.
Why have I not been told about this?
You didn't know about them.
I don't know.
Like,
bro.
I found out about both the. Like, I've mostly watched the series because that series is really good.
But the Baymax series of shorts is also
I haven't
incredible.
watched the Baymax series yet, but
You should. It's so good.
yeah, I kind of
You should,
I had a
it's so
feeling that I
good.
should, but the
I don't like the animation of the Baymax series though.
It's almost the exact same as the movie.
Wait, it is?
yeah, that one's exactly
Wait,
the
it
same.
is?
I think you're
Yeah.
thinking of the Big Hero
Oh.
6 series because that is actually very different.
Yeah, the Big Hero 6 series is more
Yeah.
two-dimensional anime.
Yeah, I don't like that.
It's actually really good. I absolutely love the I love how they are they basically are they continued the movie, and I love Noodle Boy. I have to say I love Noodle Boy. He's
That's valid. Noodle Boy is life. That's valid.
pretty
Noodle
much.
Boy is life.
Also Minimax.
Yes, the Minimax. Minimax just wandering around
Yep,
the city,
pretty much.
saving lives.
Also, it was they had a farewell to Stan Lee in it, since
They did,
obviously
it's
Stan
true.
Lee is Fred's father,
Yep.
and
Yep.
that was so emotional. I cried basically the entire episode.
Valid.
So
Valid.
Yeah, that was sad. That was so sad.
Good though.
Yeah.
Good
I'm
though.
kind of sad that they that's ended though, because it's just we'll probably never get any more from it. I'm kind of like, honestly, I think that if they are gonna do anything else with Big Hero 6, they might have it be closer to the comics and basically have that be in the MCU.
Yeah.
But I think that if they are going to do that, I think they really need to separate the MCU into being more of a broad universe, so people don't necessarily have to have watched every single thing. They can basically stick to their heroes, and then every now and again there will be collaborations between the heroes, but you don't necessarily have to actually have watched every single one of the series. Because it's just it's too much for people to watch, and that's one of the big things that's been turning people off from it. Like, I love Moon Knight; it's great. And pretty much every single,
Moon Knight
pretty much every
is awesome.
I've watched every single one of the Marvel superhero series, every single Marvel's movie. I love them all. And I know I am the only one of us who actually has watched every single episode of every single show.
Mm-hmm.
But I love every single one of them, and I think that I think it's fantastic that they were able to make something like that. But I think that they need to expand on that, have like different teams working on these things, and maybe every now and again we will see like these characters show up, and it's more of like showing that the world is bigger than we expect it to be, and not that that everyone needs to watch every single one, because that's basically what the comics were. You don't or are, I should say, you don't have to watch every single one of you don't have to read every single comic, you don't have to watch every single you shouldn't have to watch every single series in order to understand exactly what's going on.
Agreed.
So
Agreed.
And I think that I think it would be really well done if they decide, okay, here is after whatever phase that they're on, because I know that they're currently like trying to get something. They want to get the they want to finish up with the Kane series, the Kane saga or whatever it is. So finish up the Kane saga, and then while this is going on, start separating things off. So so obviously at this point they have the Echo series. So start doing more of that, where you don't necessarily have to have watched every single thing in order to watch Echo, and different things are just disconnecting little by little, all throughout the different series, and we don't have to have watched every single little thing, because then it'll just be easier for people to watch. So I don't know. There's a lot with it, and I think that there's a lot that they could do as they continue with Marvel. But yeah, separate it out. Finish up, like I said, finish up the current saga, and then once that's done, then we move on to seeing what else they're gonna do. So, that's my thought, and then people won't have to sit down and watch every single one, because we all know that not every that one of the big reasons that people are not watching a lot of the Marvel stuff is because it's just too freaking complicated, and not everyone has the time to watch everything.
Yeah.
But also they need to have teams working together on these things to make sure that people understand, okay, what is actually happening across the universe, because we don't want to be saying one thing in one series and saying something else in a different series, and then everyone gets confused, because people who watch both parts of these series are confused. And that's one of the big issues with the current series, is because if you've watched one of the things that I had an issue with WandaVision and was the Darkhold. The Darkhold is completely different from what it was in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. series. So it's just like, that's weird. Why is it a different Darkhold? So that's one thing that concerns me. But also the fact that she kind of feels like she's gotten over a lot of this stuff. But then when we get to Multiverse of Madness, she's insane.
Yeah.
So that kind of concerns me. I think that if they were that maybe they should have done something where they actually developed how she's kind of like, even though she sounds like she's okay at the end of WandaVision, and she gives up she's willing to give up this stuff. Maybe they could have developed it a little bit more before we went into Multiverse of Madness, because it was such a mind fuck, and it was weird. And I know you haven't watched either, right?
I would agree. I haven't watched any of the Marvel series.
So, yeah, and you haven't watched Multiverse of Madness, right? Because you don't like Cumberbatch.
Correct the mundo.
Okay.
Correct the mundo.
So you didn't see all of that, but it was weird. It was very weird what happened, and it bothered me.
Yeah, I didn't like Multiverse of Madness. Yeah, I didn't like Multiverse of Madness that much. It could have been
Honestly,
way
I
better
think that
than what it was.
of what happened in Multiverse of Madness, I think everything that didn't have to do with Wanda was great, but Wanda's story, it feels off to me. And I think that ruins the movie for a lot of people. And while I can look at the movie as a whole and say it was actually a pretty decent movie, there are problems with it. But at the same time, yeah, they could have done better. So I don't know. Those are just some things that I think about. I'm also intrigued to see like what they're going to continue to do with as the series continues, because there's so much that they've done so far, and it feels like they need to do a little bit more. So I don't know. We'll see exactly what they decide to do as Marvel continues. Because here's a little thing I'm gonna say. I don't see Marvel disappearing from the Disney roster anytime soon.
No.
Especially now that with what happened at the end of the Marvels, I 100% expect them to with. It's gonna have a resurgence, basically, with everything with the X-Men finally coming in.
Yeah, the end of the Marvels. Oh yeah, the end of the Marvels.
That was great.
That was great. I love that. That honestly was like the best part.
And I'm sure that Deadpool is gonna be even better. So, especially with the fact that the Time Variance Authority is gonna be in it. Oh.
Yeah, that's.
Well, I mean, I kind of understand it.
But then it's like, okay, now we have to watch Deadpool. And it's like, but Deadpool's rated R.
You should watch it anyways. It's great.
And just skip the scene about the holidays.
Yeah, fucking through the holidays. You don't need to watch that part. That's like the only part of the first movie that's just like, what the fuck? Didn't they? They did make a child not a child friendly, but a
PG-13 Christmas special.
Yeah, they made a
PG-13
Christmas
version,
special.
Yeah,
which you could probably watch that and you'll be fine. The second movie was like, even though it's rated R, it's like significantly less intense. So I think that you could probably just watch that as well once you've watched the Christmas version of Deadpool. So
yeah, definitely.
So
yeah, definitely.
So for you, Joker, I would say watch Deadpool Christmas version, then watch Deadpool 2. Like I said, even though it's rated R, it's like significantly less disgusting. So you're probably fine with that. I think the big reason why it's rated R, I think, is just because of how much cursing there is.
The second one. The second one.
The first one, we all know why it's rated R. It's fucking through the holidays.
That one is rated R for a very extremely clear reason.
So, the PG-13 version that exists. So watch that.
Yeah, for sure.
Is that on Disney Plus yet,
Yeah,
or
for sure.
do you know?
I think it is. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it is. Yeah.
See what versions they have. Deadpool. So on Disney Plus they have, looks like they have the original version, and they have Deadpool 2. So they do not have the Christmas version.
Oh boo.
So looks like you'd have to get the disc or whatever for that version. Which kind of sucks, but at the same time it's better than nothing. Yeah. But I also so we've mostly been talking about like movies and shows when it comes to the remakes and stuff and adaptations. Let's talk about video games for a second.
I think you're right when you said that Pokemon is why we have those.
Yes,
Desire
I would
for
say that
any remakes.
Pokemon has done a really good job, especially with like the Legends game, and everything before BDSP.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
even though I didn't really care to even try Let's Go Eevee or Pikachu. Um,
I want to.
I would like to
I
at
want
some
to.
point. I just didn't have the desire to play through it at the time. Mostly because I have Yellow. I have I can play I can play through that at any time that I want. Granted, I have to fix the frickin' battery for that, but that's beside the point. So there's that, but that's like I said, I'll worry about that later. But obviously, yeah, we've got there are other versions, and if you want to play those other versions, you can. So like, granted, nowadays now it's a little bit harder to do that, but also like Kanto Pokemon are pretty much everywhere in every single game. There's not a game that doesn't have at least some of the Kanto Pokemon.
Agreed.
And
Agreed.
so if you don't have every single you don't necessarily have to have the one Kanto game on the Switch in order to get every single Kanto Pokemon on the Switch.
Yeah, no, you don't.
And the same kind of goes for Johto, but I think that Johto makes a little bit more sense why they would do another remake, because reasons, but mostly because Legends would be fantastic. Like Legends Johto,
Yes.
of those two regions, Johto is the one that should get a Legends game, and then they can also deal with Kanto in that.
Agreed.
Definitely
agreed.
Yeah.
Definitely agreed. Yeah.
Although I do think that Unova is next in line, but we'll see what they do. We will find out on Tuesday what they're planning.
Yes, we will.
Speaking of which, who's ready for that?
I'm pretty stoked about it.
Yeah. It's a little bit annoying that it's so early in the morning, at least for you and me.
I'm already up anyway.
You'd be up by 6?
I'm already up anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, we should. So we should all. We all need to watch it. Whether we watch it live or not is kind of not gonna happen. Like, let's be honest. None of us are gonna watch that live because it's.
I probably will, actually.
You might watch it live.
I probably will, actually.
Well, Joker, you might. It's gonna be at 7 for you, Ben. Do you think you'd watch it live? Where's Ben? Huh?
Maybe.
You don't know?
I don't know.
I'm not. I might be awake by that point. It just kind of depends on scheduling and stuff, because next week is complicated. So we'll see what exactly happens. But needless to say, I'm excited to see what they're going to be doing. We should. So while we're here, we should. What are your predictions for what's going to be in the Pokemon Direct?
I don't know. I don't like making predictions because I feel like I get my hopes up and then, they get dashed because they always do something that's cool but not what I expected. And I just kind of like sitting there thinking, well,
Yeah. So here's my so obviously I think that they're going to reveal the next games, the next main series games. What exactly that'll mean, I'm not 100% certain. I think that it will either be, like I said, either Unova or Johto, one of the two. So we'll see what exactly that is soon. Based off of the previous timeline, I would say that more likely we're gonna see a Johto game first before a Unova game. But like I said, we'll see exactly what they decide to do. Because we haven't had a Johto game longer than we haven't had a Black and White game.
True.
So
True.
But we also haven't had like a lot of Unova Pokemon in a lot longer. like up until the Indigo Disc, we didn't have a ton of frickin' Unova Pokemon. We got a lot more coming back because of the Indigo disc, but we still haven't gotten Sock. We still haven't gotten Throw, which those are your boys.
No.
So,
Yep.
so we have.
Yep.
So we'll see. But I do think that if we do get a Legends Johto game, we are more likely to be getting some more Unova Pokemon anyways. But at the same time, it feels like they're setting up more for a Unova game than they are for a Johto game. But I do feel like they're doing both. So I don't know. So those are so one of those two. We're gonna be getting those, and then so obviously Unova Johto, and then I think that there will be some more something about Pokemon Go. I don't know exactly what that's gonna be. Probably a little bit about the cards. But as for side games, is there any remakes of side games or anything that you would really want to see?
Well, there's been a lot of talk about. I want to say it was Stadium that people were talking about that they were looking forward to.
So Stadium and let's see. So we people really want Stadium and XD. We in that one image that we talked about the other day for the bingo. She had Pokemon Conquest, Rumble Port, Mystery Dungeon remakes, Ranger stuff, frickin' Cafe remix, a new Poke Park, which I would actually be pretty down for a new Poke Park. I'm just saying.
Poke Park I'd be here for.
Yeah.
Poke Park I'd be here for.
So, I don't know. I'm intrigued to see exactly what they're going to do. It's just kind of hard to say because I think that for one thing, I think that there needs to be a digital version for most of the older games because a lot of people really want. I for one really would love to play a lot of the older games. I don't care exactly how much, what exactly it is, because I've never really gotten a chance to play the original Ruby, Emerald, and Sapphire. I never really got. I never really got a chance to play any of the Kanto games except for Yellow, and I will be getting Let's Go Eevee or Pikachu at some point. I just haven't gotten around to it, so I'm not too concerned about that.
Same.
But a lot of the Ranger games, the Mystery Dungeon games, I know that not everyone really cares about those, but I would like to see those at least maybe get just ported. I think that would make sense. Agree. And Coliseum and XD, so many people have talked about that, and with the recently frickin' Jello Apocalypse and his crew did a let's play of that. Well, relatively recently, not super recently, but but that did bring up some new conversation about it because they people were like, "Oh yeah, those games," and other people talk about it, like frickin' what's MNJTV talks about them every now and again. Other people talk about them, and a lot of people were really pissed about how the last Pokemon Direct, even though it showed like all of these games, the one thing that they had forgotten was Stadium XD. They didn't show them at all in that Direct, and people were pissed. So, I don't know. I want to see more. I would like to see them do something with that. I would also like them to make sure that when they do bring, if they bring in older games onto the Switch to basically be ports or whatever, they need to make sure that they are able to connect to the to home, even if it's just transfer them from the game over to home. that is the bare minimum. They need to have that happen. So, we'll see exactly what. Huh?
I would agree.
Yeah.
I would agree.
I don't necessarily think that they need to allow Pokemon to be transferred into those games.
I want full home access.
I mean,
I want full
fair,
home
but
access.
at the same time, like some of those games, it's like that would be kind of challenging.
Not really.
We'll see.
Not really. If you don't have the full 1010 Pokedex in them, then what's the big deal?
So yeah, any Pokemon that you could get in those games, you could then transfer them in. Yeah, I could understand that. So, which I mean, that would be basically what home would have anyways. So, also this person that we talked about the other day also thought that maybe there's going to be some more for Pokemon Concierge. Did you guys? Did you guys watch that?
Yeah. I have not.
Okay, I've watched the first episode.
I have not.
It was decent. I understand why some people would like it, but I also understand why people wouldn't like it. But also, with a Pokemon Direct, I feel like they're more going to focus on the games rather than, like, the TV show or other shows or anything like that. They might, like, briefly mention it, but that's about it. Like, maybe, oh, Pokemon, the current anime that's currently happening over in Japan, it's coming to America, which, why is it taking so long? Like, oh my, that's one thing that really annoys me about Pokemon is that they just, even though everything else is a worldwide release, the anime is the one thing that they still take years to get it over to America. Yeah. So, I don't know why they do that, but, like, we've had the, Ash saying his goodbye for months now, or actually, has it been over a year now? It might have been more than a year. Might have been a few years by this point. I don't remember.
I'm not sure.
I'd have to look at it.
I'm not sure.
But so obviously, we've had his goodbye for a long time now, even over here in America, and yet Liko and Roy's journey, or whatever their freaking names are, we haven't seen any of that over here in America. It's all still in Japanese.
Wow.
So, like, people are watching it because of VPNs and shit, but we still haven't gotten the chance to watch it, which is annoying. I really want to see the new season. Or the new series. I think that they could absolutely be doing some really cool stuff with that. So that needs to come over to America, and they need to just worldwide release that, please, for the love of God. Or at least English dubbing immediately, because like not every other anime, but most anime are able to do that nowadays. Like, granted, that's mostly thanks to Funimation and shit, and they don't do it for everything, but they do actually release a lot of these shows in multiple languages pretty quickly. So I don't know. So those are my thoughts. We've been going for about an hour. Any final thoughts before we conclude today?
Not really.
Joker?
Not really.
I think Joker disappeared.
Nope.
Oh, you didn't? Okay, there you go. So you don't have any final thoughts? Cool. Well, anyways, guys, hopefully you've enjoyed this nerd chat. We mostly talked about remakes, but of course we returned to Pokemon. And we will see you guys next time. Hopefully we'll talk about Percy Jackson. But on.